Good morning. Good morning. We are live and we are waiting for 4. If anyone wants to hop in, I'm going to just send the alert out and see if we can get anyone who wants to join this one in a big board. All right. So this is it. We've got 3 big boards remaining, assuming that we don't get any cancellations. We are down to the wire. I have added the handy dandy exposure scroll for those of you curious. I don't know if this is if I put enough or if I put too many. Would welcome any feedback, but I also don't know why I put a comma after Juwan Jennings when there is nothing after his name there, but right. All right. See, this is why you don't skip rehearsal here. Okay. And we're back. And now we're waiting for 5. Once again asking the question, are people seeing that this is just going to be one of the sharpest drafts of the entire winter and spring, and they are bailing? But hopefully we fill this soon. Only going to run one today. Want to hop off before the ship chasing folks hop on at 10 a.m. Eastern time, because I will be watching that stream. But before then, if anyone wants to join, then this would be a great time. I guess I can use this as a chance while we're waiting for 5 to pull up exposures here, see how we are looking. I'll limit it to big board because it can get a little skewed with the little board where I experimented a little, and with the war room and the bigger board kind of skewing the entry fee numbers. This is sort of my actual desired take on things. And when I say desired take, I don't know if I truly, my heart of hearts desires 27% Jackson Dart, but that is what I've got. So let's see. Hold on. I don't know if I'm getting messages here. All right. Yes, I have a lot of Jack Betch. He was such a the hype machine on Betch was out of control after the Senior Bowl. I bought in hook, line, and sinker. It seems like it's maybe cooled a little, but I don't think anything's changed in his profile, or the fact that I still think he's going to be a second round pick. Hopefully, at worst in the 3rd. If he goes beyond that, then we are just in God's hands, and this is going to look silly. But most of that Betch is 16th round or on, where we're really taking lots of stabs at different players. Brashard Smith was a guy I was taking hand over fist early, and now I'm trying to sprinkle more guys in. But I think lately I had pretty much been taking 0 because I was trying to get that exposure down. But he is a guy that I'm willing to make a bet on of the later round rookies. David Njoku, he's a guy that I was fighting the trend on pretty heavily. He was in the late 90s, early hundreds, and now he's slipped to, about almost to 120. I think he's at like 116 or so. So I've lost the battle there, but I just don't understand it. That's one where I think the market's wrong. And this is before they got Flacco, who I think, at least represents an upgrade over what Cleveland was working with last year. I think Njoku truly has elite talent. With him, it's always been a matter of staying healthy, and he's always played on a really crummy team with really crummy quarterback play. So if there's any improvement there, I think Njoku's a guy that we're going to be drafting closer to the Kittle Laporta range next season. But again, we'll see. If it's another typical Cleveland Browns year, then this will look stupid. Raheem Sanders, probably wish that was closer to 20, 15 to 20. Again, this is a bit of a function of not having an overlay, like a draft caddy or best ball overlay or one of those tools. And, I'm trying to mix up late guys and just ended up clicking him more than I necessarily wanted. But I do think the talent's there. He's a big back. He's big and he's fast. And, he profiles physically as the type of running back who could land a role in the league and can do a lot of different things. So I don't mind having a lot of Sanders, but obviously if he's a, 6th round pick to the Bucks or something, then I'm going to be, not too excited. Jackson Dart, it's been a bit of a whirlwind with him. I was sure he was going to be a starter if, early in the season, if not week 1. And I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but I do feel a little better now that Cousins is not going to go to the Browns. That does seem like it opens the Browns up as a landing spot for one of the rookie quarterbacks. And it's, very unlikely that Flacco is the QB the entire season. So if he's a bridge to like a Dart, and Dart is on the sort of Drake May plan where he sits, 6 games or 8 games, I wish he started earlier, but I'll take that over a potential 0. And, that the Saints with Carr being hurt, that's another spot that might be open. Again, there was some, who knows what's real and what's just mock draftery where the Saints were projected to take a guy like Dart and then just sit him for a year. Now that seems like whoever the Saints draft is probably going to be playing sooner than later, assuming they can beat out Spencer Rattler, which honestly does not seem that difficult. Let's go check. All right, so now we're 11 of 12. We are 11 of 12. I will just message one spot left. All right. Well, I would have expected these to fill a little quicker, but I guess it's also 8, started this at 8:45 a.m. on a Tuesday, and we're off. All right. So let's see. I am sitting here with the 9 hole. I don't recognize anyone's name here. So, yep. Let's see what kind of room we get here. We have our share of no Badgers. Yeah. So we'll see. That is not to say that no Badgers, inherently are not as good or anything, but just, it is something to keep an eye on. Sometimes they might do things differently structurally than you expect, or they're really sharp and they just haven't drafted 1,000 teams because they have seen sunlight or know the touch of a woman. But who knows? But what I do know is that it is time for the Ducks. I feel like a little loud. Yeah. Feedback on that sort of thing, because it is hard for me to know. Oh my gosh, best ball on call. Thank you so much. Not just for the algo, but for the support. And thank you. I am glad to have you here. And I like to do these early morning streams. Sometimes it's the only time in the day I can get them in. And I am also not butting heads with some of the other content creators who have all been really nice and really supportive of us small streamers out there. So again, best ball on call. Thank you so much for coming by. The 9 hole. I feel like I've had quite a few 9 holes lately. The last time I was on stream and had one, I took Brock Bowers, and I did quite like how the team turned out when I did that, because I again, if you're willing to classify Drake London as in the category of, Nico, BTJ, Neighbors, Amon-Ra, if you're willing to say that he is in that discussion, then I don't mind getting him there. Thank you very much. My employer, probably not so much. Well, yeah, I had a job at one point that did not let you wear headphones in the office. And it was so brutal because I'm the kind of person that just like can't function without some kind of like auditory stimuli going on. Like I need to hear something, even if it's just like I'm not even paying attention, it's in the background. So what I discovered was I had like my desk, my desk phone had one of those earpieces, so I could pretend I was on a phone call, and I was piping in like Spotify through my through my phone, just but I was only getting in one ear, but it helped keep me sane through that. Yeah, need white noise at minimum. Absolutely. I don't know. It's just how I've always been. Like even from when I was a kid, I just, it's like I can't sleep in pure silence. It drives me kind of nuts. So I took Puka at 9. I had literally this exact same choice last time I drafted as to what to do there, and I passed on a small faller in Puka. We see Gene T got pulled into the first round. That's not too uncommon. Neighbors up at 7. I feel like we saw this a little more a few weeks ago, before it became like the Russell Wilson. Before Russell Wilson was added to the Giants, I think there was a little more excitement about Neighbors. Not to say that Neighbors' excitement has cooled because he's still a first-round pick, but I felt like you did see him getting yanked up ahead of his ADP more. But again, these guys are all very interchangeable, and for me, it's about evening out the exposures. I definitely would have done a Puka Bowers team, but Bowers goes at the 1-2 turn. Again, the 1-2 turn, interesting place. It looks like Amon-Ra has fallen. He has not been taken yet, which is interesting. Yeah, BTJ Amon-Ra to me is a pretty nice gift if you can get that start. I will pull the board back up to see what we get. So I would have taken CMC there. Again, I think, if he's healthy and has his role, this is going to be an absolutely insane spot that you got to take CMC at. So obviously the 15th, picking him at 15 is baking in, the kind of risk of ruin if we see a season closer to last year, or if he starts off slow, or if the Niners bring somebody else in and make it more of a split. I have a hard time thinking Shanahan is capable of doing that. He really does seem to like to have his 1A and then just work other guys in as just to spell, as kind of spellbacks. So I don't know. I don't have as much CMC as I wish I did in this contest. I think in BBM, I will probably try to just get closer to, at least 8%. I suppose I could quickly check how much CMC I have here, just out of curiosity. McCaffrey, 6.3%. So, it's not horrible, but I do, I would be a little happier if that was just the market rate of 8%. Ladd going at 17, A-Chain at 18, and then a trio of receivers thereafter. Jonathan Taylor, Saquon, this can be a tough spot to draft from, this, spots 2 and 3, because you have to make, the decision of another fairly elite running back or a wide receiver who, depending on your feelings, it might not be someone you're super excited about. Like in a vacuum, I think I would much rather have Bucky Irving than Marvin Harrison Jr. But, do I necessarily want to start my teams with 2 running backs? And I think the answer kind of can be room dependent. If you're not in a big piss boy room, you can catch up. You can, if you have faith in this year's rookie class, then, when you're on this side, you can get your your Igbuka Golden kind of picks, your Calvin Ridley at this 71, 70, at this 6-7 turn range. So if you think those guys are good enough to catch up, then I think you can end up with some pretty strong combinations going running back here. But again, it's, you're just going to end up building some, different teams with different textures and exposures. And I try not to do the same thing every time when I'm in that range, because, at the end of the day, one way will be better than the other. And, we won't know until not only the cards flip over in week 17, but the games are played and everything runs out. A little bit of a fault on Higgins going there. I'm going to pull up the situation and see where I am. I'm just going to go by rank in ADP here. I don't think I want to do Kyren and Puka. I don't hate that. Sometimes these big team bets can really pay off. But I think Kyren in particular, I have a little bit of concern on. He is starting to become almost like a pure volume-based producer. Definitely a candidate for the Rams to add somebody. I don't know if they really were too enamored with Blake Corum. It's always hard to say. Some coaches just are the way they are, and they like to run their guys kind of into the ground. And I think every third series of the game, Blake Corum would sub in, and then that would be his series, and then we wouldn't see him again for until like the third or fourth or something. But I don't know, with how inefficient Kyren has become, there are some warning signs there. But LA, the Rams offense, I think, is going to be pretty good. So again, he might be a guy I'm taking more of after the draft if they don't bring in any serious competition. So with a Puka London more start, let's see. Xavier Worthy, certainly tempting to go quad RB to open if nobody takes him. Lamar goes. And so Worthy goes. So then the question is, do I take the risk on Chase Brown with the fact that the Bengals may someone in? Do I take the exciting rookie? Do I take the holdout risk? This is, not the most comfy spot on the board. I think I'm gonna take JMO here and see what happens. I'm really am in on Jamison Williams this season. I think there's a chance that he ends up being an elite producer. Also, when you're picking at 9, you're up against, and you didn't take Amon-Ra. That's a place where you do. So this is direct leverage off of, a potential Amon-Ra selection that I could have made. I think, my next pick at 57 and 64, the running backs there, I am somewhat comfortable with. I'd like Chuba Hubbard, I think, more than Market. Mixon's been falling. And then, if I have to take a Ken Walker, Travion Henderson kind of pick, I can make that. And then further in the 80s, when you're picking over here, 81, 80, 88, you can get a Tony Pollard, you can get a Tyrone Tracy, you can get a Jalen Warren if you're comfortable there. So, again, going pure piss boy here. I'm not just doing that. I'm not just doing that because I'm on stream and I feel like I have to show off to all of the best ball intelligentsia. But I am a little worried about that kind of trio, or at least Brown and Cook having some risk themselves. GM Greg, thank you for stopping by. Piss Boy Tuesdays, maybe I got to do some really splashy edgy marketing, and I imagine that public urination. Yeah, I could do my avatar like the those Calvin and Hobbes bumper stickers with on the back of a Ford of it like pissing on a Toyota logo. I could put my my avatar doing that. Although I don't know, are people still putting Calvin and Hobbes peeing on the other car makers bumper stickers? I don't know if that's was a 90s thing. I don't know that I've actually seen that in a while, but I don't think that's going to attract the Gen Z audience in the way that maybe I had hoped. might be dating ourselves the Calvin and Hobbes guy, but it plays. Yeah. As soon as I started saying it, I'm just like, this is a really musty reference that isn't even that good to begin with. So thanks, Greg. Thank you for trying to save me there. But yeah, I'll pull the board back up so we can see what's going on. Jaden Daniels almost falls to the Terry McLaurin drafter. You hate to see that. I often find myself, if I am, have taken Garrett Wilson there and I want my mobile quarterback, I take Justin Fields, who's kind of the Jaden Daniels we have at home pick. And you can take him, he's basically at ADP at pick 100, or you can reach at 93 and get him. But, the falling ADP value is fine. And he was just able to stack Debo and Daniels. So they are, clearly have a plan there. Jalen Hurts goes to the A.J. Brown drafter. That is a gift, being able to build that for Pone Stick there. Definitely a 90s thing, but extremely relatable. Thank you, Best Ball on Call. Thank you. Yeah, you never know what's going to come back in style, but that one might not. So yeah, Chuba Hubbard would have been a nice selection for me with my next pick at 64. Do we think we can push somebody there? Excuse me. So the question for me is, do I take George Kittle here, or do I take a running back? I think, Greg declared it Piss Boy Tuesday, and I'm going to live by that. We're going to go zero RB. We're going to go true zero RB and see what we end up with. I have been told this is an elite rookie running back class, and we're going to put that to the test today and see what we get. Thinking ahead as far as our QB stacking partners, going to have a lot of options here. Going to have a lot of options as far as this team goes. That is very early for Calvin Ridley, by the way. I really like Calvin Ridley, but 58 is starting to get a little bit aggressive. Although honestly, no, I think it's aggressive. I think he should go after that kind of range there. But get your guy. Maybe for him, it's get your guy Tuesday. I see the Calvin pull down more and more these days. I know. I thought we'd see it. More this season with the zero RB seeming more and more plausible. But with how good Saquon and Henry were, we do have people who are just scared to let her rip. But I think maybe this is the season for it. So there goes Olave at 62. I think I would just take Travion Henderson. I am tempted to go really piss boy and take Jalen Waddle. Am I crazy? Can I do it? We're going to push it. Guys. And then we're really going to back off wide receiver. I wish Kevin were here to see this, because he would love this, but maybe I'll just have to send him the team. But yeah, so starting the team with Puka, Drake London, DJ Moore, Jamison Williams, Jalen Waddle at receiver, and George Kittle at tight end. And we are in God's hands at running back, but we'll see what comes around. Husky Papa is also celebrating Piss Boy Tuesday. I am a little worried that he is going to double tap running back at 83 and 86 and take someone I want, but we will see what avails itself. Fortunately, I'm seeing a lot of green on this side of the board, so maybe we catch some fallers at least coming in from the left side. But stay tuned, dear viewers, because this is going to be a little sketchy landing this plane. But if we are able to land it, we're certainly going to have some pretty good wide receiver firepower. I think just sort of talking it through, I kind of prefer going heavy wide receiver on this side versus this side, because at 90, this 8-9 turn, the running backs available kind of stink, whereas over here you can still get what I think is a little bit of value at receiver there. So this is going to preclude us from taking probably at least Jared Goff or Caleb Williams. I don't think they're going to be there at 105. And I don't think I want to push, I don't think I want to be going into the 9th round with only one running back. I do lack the courage to do that, but we'll see. We'll see what we are able to do. Just kind of looking how the board fell, maybe could have passed on Waddle and taken Henderson, and then adding, like, if Igbuka falls to me, maybe that's a better combination. But there could be a massive gulf between Jalen Waddle and Emeka Egbuka, and that sentence could sound really stupid, especially if we see, anything happen with Tyreek Hill, or if Jalen Waddle discovers that it's more fun to be on the field than in the locker room. So I think of this range, I'm going to just take the mystery box in Caleb Johnson. He's been a bit of a faller. I still see him in Steelers black and yellow. Maybe that's just because he was wearing Iowa black and yellow, and this is a very easy transition. But I don't know. I think he's still going to get good draft capital. Obviously not the most, not the most dependable RB1 to start with. And maybe I should have taken Tony Pollard. Thinking about it, I actually thought there was a chance Tony Pollard would come back to me, which is why I did that. I think in a vacuum, I prefer Pollard to Caleb, but I got a little greedy there. But anytime you start with McCaffrey and Kyron, you want to be adding more running backs. Why is everybody taking running backs in this range? Come on, people. I understand Husky Papa. Husky Papa and I are kindred spirits, celebrating this beautiful Tuesday together. But these other people, what are we doing? What are we doing? We're getting greedy. Oh my gosh, Jalen Warren goes. Guys, there's no green on my screen. There is no green left. What has happened? This is what we call a nightmare scenario, folks. All right. But we don't have to panic. Although Jared Goff is gone. No, he's not. Oof. You know what? We're taking Luther Burden. That's it. And maybe we're done at wide receiver. We've taken 6 here. All in on Piss Boy Tuesday. I found my courage to truly go 0 RB here, into the depths of the running back class. I don't build a lot of teams like this, as you can maybe tell, but we're trying something a little different, and we will see if we get there. But I do think if we do this, I never really go hyper fragile wide receiver, but at this point, I think now I just got to start taking running backs really hot and heavy. I love Cam Scatabo, but I don't think taking him at 88 out of panic makes sense. And let us hope that the best ball gods provide, because this is a little bit sketchy here. See if anything out of the ordinary goes on. Nope. Mark Andrews at 92. He's a guy that I take a fair share of. But again, this team with George Kittle at 57, we're going to be pushing tight end pretty late. I think my sort of game plan for the remainder of this draft will be maybe my last 2 picks are 2 like rookie tight ends in the mold of Mason Arroyo, or like someone kind of who I think has some upside, like a Chig or a Juwan Johnson kind of player, and taking QBs kind of as they come in this middle round, and then just, I don't know. I'm not good at math, but I'm going to end up with like 9 running backs on this team, I think. So we will see. There goes Caleb. A little unfortunate. Would have potentially liked if he came. Patrick Mahomes gets taken by the guy with no Chiefs, but then he says, I do, however, have a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, and takes Baker Mayfield at 99. Jared Goff is coming, but if Cam Scatterbo makes it to me, it will be some form of miracle here. I am really out on ETN. If Zach Charbonnet is my running back 2, I am in a house of pain. As far as quarterbacks go, maybe Goff or Purdy will come around. If not, I'm happy to take an unstacked Fields. And otherwise, I will be looking at adding like a Stafford or a Tua later to this team. But who knows? Maybe what I have done is really starve the room of wide receiver. Oh my gosh, Pone Stick pones me, taking my guy Cam Scatterbo. This is truly Black Tuesday, folks. Then Pacheco goes. I am watching my world turn to dust before my eyes. So I think in this case, I'm just going to take Jared Goff, because honestly, I am at the point where all of these running backs are kind of ass, and I don't really care which one I get. Nothing else, nothing matters anymore. It is over. But no, we're not going to say that. We are going to keep on fighting. We are going to try to land this plane. We are calling air traffic control. We're saying we've got no engines left. We are gliding in, and we might be having Jordan Mason as running back 2. So stay tuned, folks. We're going to land this plane, and we're going to end up with a team. We're going to have 20 players on that team, and we'll see what we can do. Good morning, James Young. Thank you for coming by. Yes, I was trying to get a draft in before the good folks over on Ship Chasing come on at 10 a.m. I will be watching them. So this will unfortunately be the only draft I run today. I also only have 2 drafts left after this. So I think probably next time I stream, I'm going to try to get the last 2 big boards in. Maybe if there's a good time, I'll try to run my last biggest board on stream, but I kind of just, being that it's too late to get into a slow, I might just, when those are ready to fire, sometimes, people start sending out messages on Discord and Twitter. So we'll see if I can plan that ahead. I'd love to, but if I tried to fill a bigger board at 8:45 a.m. on a Tuesday, I think I would find there's just not enough degeneracy here to pull that off. I know by ADP, Sharbs is better, but if I do think I'd take Mason, because if he starts off the season as the goal line back in Minnesota, which I think there's a good possibility he is, at least I will not be taking zeros. Whereas Charbonnet, Charbonnet is definitely a little bit more of a contingent upside kind of play. Obviously, we found last year that contingent upside was pretty massive. So, had I had Cam Scatterbo on this team, I would probably have taken Charbs there, in the hopes that, I don't want to say that I would hope that Ken Walker would get hurt. I would hope Ken Walker got traded for some reason. But yeah, because that would be very likely outcome. But I do think at this point, for my RB2, I want them, on the field, and I think we're going to see Mason with at least some role. So the team so far, we've got Goff, Caleb Johnson, and Jordan Mason, and then a wide receiver room of Puka, Drake London, DJ Moore, J-Mo, Jalen Waddle, and Luther Burden III. with George Kittle holding it down at tight end. I'll bring up the draft board so we can all follow along what's going on together. Not seeing anything too out of the ordinary here. Again, Husky Papa, I think he caught up a little better at running back than I did. I was not anticipating that Pollard, Tracy Jones, and Warren would all go in this range. I mean, it's obviously was foreseeable. It was a risk I took. It was one of those, the classic saying, like, I took a calculated risk, but man, I am bad at math. That pretty much sums things up here, but we will persevere. We will persevere. So Charbonnet at 120, nice value for Jimmy's over there. Jaden Higgins at 119. My God, that is getting steamy, folks. That is really steamy. I think we've been spoiled by some pretty good rookie receiving classes. But it's so easy to forget. Like, I don't want to compare. It's one of those things where we just forget how many failures at rookie wide receiver we have when we do these drafts this year. Like, we had, so much Jalen Polk. We had, people were taking Malachi Corley. We were taking Troy Franklin. We were taking Roman Wilson. We were taking, even Keon Coleman. That kind of was a bit of a zero last year. And a lot of those guys had good draft capital or kind of good landing spots or both, and they didn't pan out. And that was in a better wide receiver class than this one. So, I am a little worried that we do have the tendency to get the shiny toy. So, their shiny toys are bad. My shiny toy is good. And Bashal Tutin, no toy is shinier than Bashal Tutin, who I will add to this team here. Honestly, I think Bashal Tutin is likely to disappoint all of us best ball slappies. Huge winner out of the combine, but, will the NFL team see the same thing? Will he be mixed in early in the season? I don't know. I could see him not. I could see us all. He's the kind of guy I feel like, on the team's Reddit board that drafts him, people being like, why isn't Tutin getting the ball more? And then it turns out like he can't pass block, or like he can't figure out the schemes. I don't know. There's just any number of reasons. I'm not saying that's specific to Tutin, but there's just any number of reasons these rookie running backs like struggle to see the field. James, I am extremely worried. Do you worry about the fragility of a build like this? You might be able to field 2 startable running backs for several weeks. Yes. This did not go as planned. I took a couple detours. I kept trying to push running back. I took a falling Jalen Waddle over Travion Henderson, which is starting to look kind of stupid. I do have serious concerns that I will not be able to field a team of NFL players. I do not necessarily. So here's the thing, when if you're building a pool of 150, I think this kind of build makes sense to do every now and then. Because, I know I just took Tua and I said I was going to keep taking running backs, but I really, I think the running backs I want to start getting are in this range from Giddens, Harvey, Allen, Jerome Ford. Maybe I should have taken Jerome Ford there, but I also don't want to get completely frozen out at quarterback, and I could potentially stop at 2. But, there is a chance, like, there's a league winner in this back half, like, this year's Bucky Irving or this year's, Kyron Williams kind of guy among this Giddens, Harvey, Sampson, Damian Martinez, and then even further, in the depth, Brashard Smith, Jarquez Hunter, Taj Brooks. Like, I typically end the team with only one or two of those guys, not necessarily five of them. And, in the unlikely outcome that a couple of them pay off, or, even if only one of them pays off, I might be able to cobble together enough, points each week, kind of a roulette of running backs to where, if those guys hit, I have I have one of the stronger wide receiver rooms you're going to find in any pod in all likelihood. And it is historically easier to find kind of a late round smash at running back than it is a late round smash at wide receiver. Stepped away for a few minutes, came back to see Jordan Mason. You are fine at running back. Carry on, sir. Well, thank you. Yeah, and I honestly think Jordan Mason might end up being kind of the steal of the big board. He's someone I wish I took more when he was just the kind of backup in San Francisco. But I think there's a good chance he is the early down running back / goal line back in Minnesota, who is going to be a good offense again, and showed that he could carry a bell cow role in San Francisco. And when I think of who cannot carry a bell cow role, Aaron Jones comes quickly to mind. I don't like projecting injury. I don't think anyone who takes this seriously, you can't really project injury. There's but there are guys who get injured every year, and Aaron Jones is one of them. So again, I'm not counting on him to get hurt, but if he got hurt, I would not be in the least bit surprised. So I think he's a guy that now is going where he should go. I could even see him going a few spots earlier, but I think like Travis Etienne, Jacksonville has to add somebody. Travis Etienne is god awful. I will take Mason over Etienne every single time. And so I don't mind Mason in that range, but obviously I would rather him be more of a RB3 or 4 on my team than my RB2. But this is the bed I have made for myself. Now coming up, let's see. I can't tell if I want to go Giddens Harvey or if I want to take Ray Davis on this team. Ray Davis. I'm going to take Ray Davis here. Yeah, James, thank you. All right. Yeah, I'm going to take Ray Davis here because I think he's not a zero, and he also has like pretty major contingent upside. Is Cook going to hold out? Probably not, because I think running backs have learned their lesson. Like, if you hold out, all you do is lose, because you have no leverage basically. But players that hold out, again, I'm going back to you can't predict injury, and now all I'm doing is predicting injury. But when players do miss training camp, they are much more likely to have soft tissue injuries, and we've seen that before. So I think Ray Davis has a job. Ray Davis has contingent upside, and Ray Davis is on an awesome offense. So I think he is a perfectly reasonable add to this team. And then the next add I'll make, assuming he doesn't go, is DJ Giddens. But Trey Benson scares me. I think the Cardinals, I heard them pretty strongly linked to Scatabo. I could see that happening, obviously, the player in their own backyard. But Trey Benson was losing some work to who was it? DeMarcado. I never got the feeling they really loved Benson. And I could be wrong. He's a guy I'll start taking in BBM if the Cardinals don't add somebody, because, James Conner it was not always the bastion of health. He stayed pretty healthy last year, but I do have some concerns about Trey Benson there. So even though that was some ADP value, I will not take it. I have bags of Devin Neal. he's not getting as much buzz as I'd kind of hoped. I love this fall in Dallas Goedert. I feel like I wish I could be justified in taking him, but I don't think that's good on this particular team. I do think I need someone in this range of running backs. So Puff McDuff makes the decision for me as far as Giddens or Harvey. I like both of them, but so now our running back room has Caleb Johnson, Jordan Mason, Bashal Tutin, Ray Davis, and DJ Giddens. Yeah, really thin, but now, now we've at least added some guys with either draft day upside or contingent upside. Give me 1 second here. All right. Yeah, I have mentioned on previous streams, I have a younger child who's in daycare, and every week he brings home a new cold. So I've just had a stuffy nose for since November. And so one day I won't have a stuffy nose, and like my voice is going to change completely on stream, and people are going to think that there was some kind of Chad Candles bait and switch. But I assure you, that is not the case. It is not the case. I just have a perpetual cold. But again, one day I will be able to breathe freely, and it will be a glorious day. But not today. Tyler Algier is a guy I would have liked on this team. Monster contingent upside, probably one of the highest upsides in the league. Did it go to the? No, Bijan won it too. Okay, I thought it was a handcuffing situation, but it was not. I think I am slightly more pro handcuff than the best ball intelligentsia is. I certainly see the vision where if your number 2 overall pick gets hurt, you're going to be behind all the teams that have his backup. They're going to have their first round pick plus Algier, whereas you have a hole and Tyler Algier. But I think it ignores the instances where Bijan misses a stretch of games in the middle of the season and then comes back, and Algier was your bridge. And when you're, at this point in the 14th, 15th round, if that's all they are, that's not the end of the world. If they're making contributions to your lineup. And then, if it happens in the playoffs, if, Bijan misses a week and then comes back, you could potentially be burying all the teams. So I'm a little more, sympathetic to the handcuffing. I don't go out of my way to do it, but I don't go out of my way to avoid it every single time. 20-round draft with 2 advance makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and that was the corollary is I'm more likely to do it in the big board than in BBM when every pick. I don't want to say every pick doesn't count here, but you do get a little more wiggle room with the two extra draft picks. All right, so coming up, I would windmill in Braylon Allen if he falls to me, although Damian Martinez is tempting as far as exciting rookies. I think Allen also, Braylon represents that sort of contingent upside / day one, not a zero that this team kind of craves. So I think Allen would be the pick here. Is the Ken Walker-Sharp combo too far for you? It's a little thin because of where Sharps goes. I think you're giving up a little bit. I don't hate it though. I think for me, Greg, that depends on what you think of the Seahawks. If you want to just lock up all the running back points in that backfield, I have no problem doing that. Like, I've seen people justify taking Montgomery with Gibbs, right? And the argument there is like, well, I've just hoovered up all of the points in the Lions. And obviously there is some difference between the Lions offense and the Seahawks offense, pretty big difference, but there's also a monster difference in the number 3 pick and the number, 67 pick where you get DeMont versus, 54 and 105. So I don't think it's awful, but again, I don't know. I don't know. I think that would depend on your opinion of that. I think they're going to suck, and the RB is going to be the only good thing to point at. That's certainly possible. I am a kind of a Sam Darnold bear myself. I'm old enough to remember him seeing ghosts. You know, if I'm old enough to remember those Calvin and Hobbes bumper stickers, I'm certainly old enough to remember Sam Darnold seeing ghosts on the field. And him playing in a dome with an elite defense with the best wide receiver in football, moving to like outdoor rainy Seattle and the NFC West. Kind of good luck with that. that could be really awful. Husky Papa takes everything I love, including Damian Martinez. So my question is this a 3 QB team or a 2 QB team? I get the sense this might be just a 2 QB team, and we're just going to add Brashard Smith. We're just going to keep with the plan and just start throwing darts. And there is very few greater dart throws than Brashard Smith. Again, you know, should I add a 7th wide receiver to this room? I don't know. Honestly, if Puka, London, Moore, Williams, Waddle, and Burden aren't getting there, is Jack Betch going to get there? I don't know. I think this is just, you know, we got to stick to the plan and hope that we can cobble together a decent running back room on this team. Maybe if Shadur Sanders comes all the way around, I would consider taking him there. But again, I don't know. I think with Goff and Tua, you run 2 and you just hope that gets you across the finish line and through the bye weeks and the injuries. Just because of the way this team is I've never had a thinner running back room. Let me pull up the draft board again. I meant to keep that up for all of you to see what's going on here. Ollie Gordon goes at 193. He's a guy I have an absolutely alarming amount of, but you know, he would have been welcome on this team at pick 201. Would have been nice if Damian Martinez had come at 184. I would have felt pretty good. I think, you know, he has been sneakily rising up draft boards, and you know, at the very least, I could see him with some kind of early goal line role or early first and second down role on a team, which, you know, could always evolve into more if they show they have some juice. And it seems like, you know, there might be something there. Coming up here, let's check the available running backs. We're starting to get into the point where the available running backs really are a choose your own adventure, and I legitimately don't have a preference in all of these guys. So maybe I will take the tight end detour now, or I'll add Shadur Sanders. I think I will add Sanders, and this might be a little cowardly, but I will tell you why, dear viewer. I think it would be a massive shame if this team manages to survive this running back situation and then founder because, like, Tua gets concussed and then I'm down to one quarterback. I don't want this team to die because I needed to take LaQuint Allen in the 20th round, and he could legitimately be a 0. So I do think Sanders makes a little bit of sense on a team where I'm already making a very thin running back bet. I don't think I want this to die because I only took 2 quarterbacks. That could be bad, but that is my thought process there. we'll see. We'll see. I'm happy to take any feedback, on that. But how many running backs do I have? Yeah, I already have seven backs. So, maybe that should have been a tight end, and then I could have stopped at 2. But we'll see. We'll see. I think I do want to add a tight end here. The question is, which one? I think for me it's going to be Chig. I think he is my favorite of this bunch. Obviously, if Tennessee adds a tight end, then Chig goes to 0. But if they don't, with Cam Ward, we could see that being, we could see that being a thing. Cam Ward made Arroyo look pretty darn good in college. So we know that, he's at least has some affinity to passing to the tight end. Okonkwo got some good coach speak at the beginning of this sort of off-season cycle. So I don't mind him as this, as a late round dart there. But at this point, I am also willing to take anyone's suggestion on a dart throw running back not named Jaden Blue. This is a no Jaden Blue house here. I just figured I should get that on the record. I do not care how fast he ran. I do not think Jaden Blue is very good at football. But again, I will adjust my priors if he gets good draft capital, a good landing spot, and or training camp drumbeat. We always have to remember to adjust our priors. But I am confident in that one. Obviously, it's not really too big of a stand, like not taking a guy in the 20th round who's undrafted in most contests. I don't think I should be, truly given much credit if that ends up being the case. But that is where I stand on good old Jaden Blue. Schmo here going quad tight end late. Did he didn't take one early, did he? No. So Schmo had a plan. Schmo had a plan and executed it. Don't necessarily hate that. Trying to cobble together tight end production. 4 to me is too much. I do like to stop at 3. I am sympathetic to the argument that tight ends can hit the flex, but it is things have gone off the rails if one of Strange, Jatavion, Juwan Johnson, and Tyler Higbee, if 2 of those guys, if one is hitting your flex, I think that might say more about your condition of your wide receivers and running backs. Might be in some trouble there. So, running back. Who are we taking? This might be a Jordan James team. We'll take Jordan James on this crew and add him as our 8th running back. And then I think I will just add a tight end. Or do I want to stop with Kittle and Chig? That is the question. Let's see what tight ends are available. So we are firmly in tight end dart throw country. And I think this is the case where I need to be brave and say, I took a big detour taking Kittle instead of, a Ken Walker or a Connor or that kind of guy, a Henderson, Judkins kind of player. And I need to trust that George Kittle is my tight end. So I think I'm going to take another running back stab and go 3-9-6-2 and see what happens here. So the question is Sanders, Allen, Taj Brooks. If anyone has a suggestion, I am happy to take it. Otherwise, I will just pick one of these guys and see where we end up. I think I will take Taj Brooks. Yeah, I think I'll take Yeah, I'm not taking Lan Larison. I saw his name flash down there. I am looking forward to Davis's inevitable interview with Lan Larison. I think that's going to be great. But until then, I probably will not be drafting him. And yep. No, I was thinking maybe taking Edwards, but you know what? Where is he? Donovan Edwards. God, no, I'm not going to do it. I'll take a shark. I'm sorry. I know. Scintillating content here. I'm going to take Taj Brooks. All right. So this is the team. We got Jared Goff, Tua Tagovailoa, and Shedeur Sanders at QB. A running back room of Caleb Johnson, Jordan Mason, Bashal Tutin, Ray Davis, DJ Giddens, Braylon Allen, Brashard, Jordan James, Taj Brooks. The over-under on this team's production in week 1 combined is about 9.5 half PPR points. Wide receiver room of Puka Nacua, Drake London, DJ Moore, Jameson Williams, Jalen Waddle, and Luther Burden III. With tight end room, a lonely room of George Kittle and Chig Okonkwo. And that, my friends, rounds out the team. It will round out this draft. Thank you all so much for stopping by this morning. The ADP chasing folks are coming on at 10. I will be watching them. They have a great stream and product. I highly recommend them if you don't already subscribe to them. But please, if you can, like and subscribe. I appreciate it. I think my next subscriber is number 50. So this is great because I literally have started with Stone Zero, and now I get to hang out and spend my morning with you all, and truly I enjoy it. This is a lot of fun for me. I hope you all had some fun. And as Greg said, I do not have to worry about dupes for that one. No, if this team somehow is in the finals, it will be the Ricky Bobby first or last kind of team. There is no in between here. Hey, best ball on call, you came for the algo and you stuck around, and I cannot say how much I appreciate it. I really do. Thank you so much for coming by, and I hope you all had some fun here, and I will catch y'all later. Take care, everyone.